Hey everyone, thanks for clicking on my video. This is Rocky, and this review will be for episode 3 of Constantine. In this episode we get Zed finding Constantine back at the Millhouse, and she ends up meeting Chaz as well, so we have basically our, trinity of heroes finally together. And Chaz definitely likes Zed right off the bat. They get a good chemistry between them, and he likes the way she reacts with John and everything like that, so they feel like a team right now. And she gets her introduction to the Millhouse as well, including Constantine working on a spell while covered in blood and various other things. So she reacts quite comedically to that, I thought. And we get the idea that this Millhouse is, quite larger on the inside than on the outside, and that it's, constantly changing and evolving. More than likely this has to do and connected to the Tower of Fate from the comics, which is where the, Dr. Fate resides, and since the helmet's there, more likely connects to that, especially when you open up the door and they see the long hallway, and, Constantine, kind of pushes back, says, no, I'm not even ready for that. So there's just different avenues within this Millhouse that we haven't seen yet. So I'm sure as the season goes on, we'll see more and more parts of that. And this is probably where most of John's, magic artifacts and things that he's using are going to be stored, and, maybe some new ones he'll find. We get a first mention finally of the First of the Fallen in this episode. The first is, quite prominent throughout the Constantine or Hellblazer comics, and essentially it's Lucifer. It's the first fallen angel, and he's named in relation to this acetate, this vinyl record from this old blues singer Willie Cole, who it was rumored sold his soul to the devil for his popularity and everything like that. And on this record it actually recorded his death, but also the actual voice of the First of the Fallen. And anyone that actually hears his voice is basically driven insane to, harm themselves, harm others. It's very, very powerful in regards to dark magic. We also get the mention finally of mucous membrane, which was John Constantine's band from basically everything that kind of happened before Newcastle. He was a rocker. He wanted to be a rocker, so he had a hard rock, or not hard rock, but a rock band. In the comics, Constantine's image was basically modeled after Sting, so they kind of, infused that rock essence into the character as well. Of course, John admits that they were just, a bunch of wankers. So, it's nice seeing those connections to the comic being built into the series. They're definitely, they're introducing these elements slowly, which is good, but it's building that history for Constantine that can grow on. We also get our first look at Papa Midnite in this episode. And I thought they did a very good job of the character of Papa Midnite. In the comics, he's pretty much, he's a creep. He's kind of a douchebag towards John, and we definitely get that in this episode as the Papa Midnite character they're using. He's got that right amount of douchebaggery. I mean, he's kind of, you can see he respects John at least at some level, but he knows he's in some ways more powerful than John, and definitely uses that to his advantage. But he's just got that nice smoothness to the way he talks and the way he acts, which definitely translates well from the comic. So I very much enjoyed that performance and look forward to seeing how they're going to use Papa Midnite. Whether they're going to treat him as just a straight villain, or if it's going to be more like in the comics. Also, we get a few different magic artifacts presented within this that I enjoyed quite a bit. We get the basically the hand of the hangman that John uses to speak to the dead. He pulls it out of his bag of tricks, basically. So he lights this hand within the morgue, and all the corpses are basically reacting, and he seems kind of put off by that. So it makes me wonder if that darkness that's been affecting dark magic is affecting that as well. That's what I got from that. Just with all the bodies and everything moving and John's reaction, it seems like it was more powerful than it was meant to be. So we did get that reference in the last episode where this darkness is affecting dark magic and magical creatures in general. So another thing we got, which was really nice, is that the card, the playing card that basically can look like anything that you want it to. So, unfortunately it looks like John may have lost that one, but it was a nice little trick. So we're seeing all these little magical artifacts and things that are pretty nifty, and definitely nice for him to have on hand, including those 2 nails from the cross. It's basically, a magic GPS, which I thought was a nice cool trick, and definitely was used very well by John in this episode. And the main magical item that we get to see is the Ace of Winchester. Now that item is actually from the comics, and it's basically a Winchester rifle that was made by a mystic back in the Old West times, and essentially it had the powers to destroy any demons. This is more than likely one of the main sources that the creators of Supernatural used when they were designing the cult from that series, as well as using the Winchester name for the main characters of that show that may come from this, as well as just the name Winchester in general and how prominent it had to be with the Old West. So it was nice seeing that pull from the comic as well, and that definitely did connect with Papa Midnite in the comics, as if I recall correctly, Papa Midnite was actually going to try and sell that, or be the middleman to sell it to John, and it ended up going south, and John ended up stealing it anyways. So nice seeing that nod to the comic as well. This episode definitely felt tighter, more stronger in the writing and everything. Everything felt a little bit more comfortable, which we would kind of expect, by the 3rd, 4th episode of a new series. So I thought the three heroes, John, Chaz, and Zed, definitely worked well together. Their characters are meshing very well, and Zed's giving that attitude back to John, which I think Chaz gets a kick out of. And we get that sense that Chaz is definitely looking out for John, in particular with giving him the orange juice and things like that, and just looking out for him. So I really enjoyed this episode. It was a great episode, I thought. Very strong writing. It was nice seeing that, in order to basically stop this record from, causing complete chaos, John actually had to draw on its own dark energy to basically send it back to hell. So, that was opening himself up to those dark energies, so that's why it was kind of risky for him to do, but he was strong enough to able to get it done. Now, this is probably going to present a problem later on, as, the First is definitely going to notice this. So I don't imagine it's going to be too much longer before we're actually going to see, a scene with the actual First of the Fallen, and him talking with John, because he's definitely going to take notice at this point. But it was just nice seeing that, Constantine had to push himself to, make that. And he, had to fight his own urges because he wanted this, record for himself. Just like Midnight wanted it, as it's something to draw very heavily on dark energy and could be, very useful to, an arcane caster. So all in all, it was a very solid, very strong episode. Best of the season so far. I get the feeling we're going to continue to get that solid progression in writing. I thought the introduction of Papa Midnite was handled very well. It was subtle. I mean, he was a main part of the episode, but he didn't overpower John. So I definitely enjoyed that. Solid episode. Definitely recommend you guys check out this series if you haven't already. If you enjoyed my video so far, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and share the video. And definitely subscribe to my channel. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into basically some additional information. So we're basically going to geek out about Papa Midnite right now. For those that haven't seen my previous videos, when I do a geek out, it's basically a way for me to present some additional information from like a comic source or something to give a little bit more background information on, you know, a character or some particular part of an episode. In this case, I'm going to focus a little bit on Papa Midnite and just present some of his background information from the comics, just kind of a brief overview. So originally, Papa Midnite was born sometime in the 18th century near the Revolutionary War times. And he did have a twin sister named Luna, and both Luna and Midnite were trained by their mother in magic, in particular voodoo magic. And the three of them actually took over a plantation by basically controlling the master of the plantation. Now, something that happened with Midnite during this time is some of the slaves came to him, and they were basically wanting some type of protection spell or charm to basically make them immune to bullets, so that way they could, you know, revolt and stand up to the oppressors and the slave masters. Now, Papa Midnite did try to make this spell, but unfortunately it did not work. So many slaves were killed, and as a result, they basically cursed Midnite, and he had to basically kill his sister, and he was cursed with immortality for as long as essentially the black men were slaves or under the white men. Basically, as long as they were oppressed, he would never be able to die. Throughout time, Papa Midnite has tried to barter or make arrangements with different type of gods, including the trickster god Anansi, and due to this, he was actually ended up getting double crossed by that god and became a slave for a short time himself. Now, in the more modern setting that Hellblazer took place, Midnite was basically a underground crime boss, more or less. Heavily, you know, powerful in voodoo magic, and he and John, you know, they weren't exactly rivals or enemies, but you know, they had a dislike for each other, but they did do business with each other. And at some point, John ended up swindling Midnite out of about $50,000. So that's kind of where that animosity really kicked up with Midnite. And as a result, you know, Midnite did try to get rid of John on several occasions, including actually physically sending him to hell, which of course John found a way out of, as he always does. They have worked with each other on occasion. In particular, Papa Midnite and John worked together to defeat or trap the demon Nemoth, which was actually a hunger demon that basically just made everyone, you know, insanely hungry, and they were just affecting this large city area. And they had to work together to bind this demon inside of a host. And throughout the comics, they've worked with each other at other occasions off and on. So Papa Midnite isn't necessarily a straight villain in the comics. So like I said previously in the show, it seems like they're kind of presenting him as a villain, but I don't think he's going to be actually like a big bad villain, though he did do the voodoo doll at the end of the episode. So we'll have to see how they play that out. But he is a very, very powerful voodoo magician. He knows some other magics as well. So he's very powerful. In some ways, he's a bit more powerful than John. But John has a more wide array of talents, less focus. So that's kind of where he can come out on top sometimes. So I hope you enjoyed that information about Papa Midnite. I know I haven't done a geek out for a while, so I wanted to do one on here. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said previously, if you've enjoyed my video, go and give me a thumbs up and share the video. And please subscribe to my channel, as I will be doing weekly reviews of Constantine, as well as the other Marvel and DC television shows going on right now. That being said, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye.